everybody, for joining us this Monday afternoon. It is the end of June 2026. This is the Hip Spotlight. My name is Andy, your host, and welcome Robbie Mangiardi.
Hello, Andy. How are you?
I am so good today. I've been looking forward to this conversation all weekend. And I will tell you, it has been quite the deep dive, all things Robbie Mangiardi, and having the pleasure to hear your music and know your story. It's going to be a really lively conversation because it's true. A lot of our fellow members of the human family, they're given two AA batteries,
Right.
or there is those who get 4C batteries, and boy, do they excel. Guys like you and I, we got the 8D batteries like we used to put in our boombox.
Yes, sir. Glad to
So,
be here.
well, the whole music thing, it's been around you, swirling since a very early age. Tell us about it.
Well, I grew up in Long Island. I had eight brothers and sisters. Very traditional American family. My dad was a heart surgeon. My mother had acted on Broadway at one point. So growing up in this pretty big house, we were fortunate. I always heard music coming out of different people's rooms. My older sister Maureen would play West Side Story and Mary Poppins till the lights went out. I mean, I just heard it all the time. So, just having that stuff kind of instilled in you on one end. And then, back then, radio was great. AM radio was great. And then the advent of FM as that came into New York with great disc jockeys like Roscoe and Scott Muni back in the, I guess, late 60s and early 70s and mid 70s. But so I was a jock in high school. I just played sports. I was a basketball junkie. I played like I wore my arms and hands out playing hoops. About 18 years old, I mean, I love the Beatles and I love singing. But when I was an 18-year-old boy, still, I got my first guitar for $69 in the bottom of some guy's basement. It was a Giannini, that was the brand. And I had that guitar for the next 40 years. My friends would ask me to get a good Martin, and I wouldn't do it, and I wouldn't do it until I found actually this Martin, which is called a parlor size Martin. It's not the big D28, but I went into Sam, whatever it is here, not Sam Goodies.
Goody.
It wasn't Goodies. It was the one out here at the Guitar Center, and I went in there and I just literally picked the guitar off the stand, strummed it. I had no money. It was 2000 plus, and I got on the phone with my best friend from high school, and he gave me the money to buy the guitar. and I,
Sam
we,
Ash.
yeah, yeah,
Sam Ash.
I remember Sam Ash, yeah. And so anyway, that's been kind of like my best buddy ever since is that acoustic guitar, and just to kind of dive back into music and what makes a songwriter write songs. I came from we had some alcoholism in our house, and there was a broken home at one point, and even today, people don't talk much about divorce, but for me back then it was kind of a big shock to the system, going to an all boys Catholic school, etc., stuff like that. So I found that the guitar, when I started picking it up, it was basically for me a place of refuge. It was a place of comfort. um, from the first chord I ever struck, the vibration of those strings, it's sonic, and it does something to all of us, electrically and sonically. And I got comfort from that, and I just started writing songs. Wasn't a school musician. My sister went to Berkeley School of Music. My brother was a classically trained flute player who ended up becoming a neurosurgeon. But I never learned how to read and was kind of defiant about not doing it. And my theory was that I'd be too much like everyone else if I learned to read music. So I always think of these remote tribes that they have on National Geographic in these jungles, and their music is so indigenous in particular. That's because they didn't copy anybody. They just did what was in the jungle and whatever they could pick up noises, and their music was very distinct. So as a songwriter, I always had this. I don't know where it comes from, but I always had this thing, that sounds too much like this guy. You don't want to sound like that guy. Sound like yourself. So I've always been crazy as a songwriter. I've never been in a cover band my entire life, for example. Anytime I've done a concert, it's been my songs all the time. And I have a lot of them, and I don't play enough concerts. But with this kind of foray with what we're doing with you and Hip Video, which you guys have done a great job on 2 singles already, I have a whole new bunch of stuff. Some of it's from music I've written 20 years ago, some from stuff I wrote a month ago. But I've been working in the studio with Martin Flores, who's a percussionist extraordinaire, a drummer. He's got, I think he's played on 5 Grammy albums. And the core of our nexus is him, Rene Camacho, incredible bass player who tours with War. He's played on a few Ry Cooder albums. And a lifelong friend, Neil Rosengarten, whose dad was Bobby Rosengarten, who drummed on Jack Parr. He's played drums with Hendrix and Tchaikovsky, I think, or something like that. Some incredible, or Bernstein. Yeah, it was Hendrix and Bernstein in the same year. But so the pedigree of being around really schooled musicians who do read music. And before that, a friend of mine named Pete DeCoste here in Los Angeles. I didn't even tell anybody I was a songwriter. I was like a closet songwriter. I'm an actor. I've worked a lot as an actor, but I like songwriting more. And I told this one friend of mine, Pete DeCoste, yeah, I write songs, and you heard a couple. And he introduced me to Herb Peterson from the Desert Rose Band, who's an incredible flat picking banjo playing guy. So I recorded one album, which we released a few years ago, but it had a lot of bluegrass guys on it, and they were all black belt players. And that was a real eye opener for me because my hands literally, when I went into the studio to play with these guys, was shaking. I couldn't even hold my guitar because I was in so much in awe of these guys. So since then, I just practice all the time. I love the idea of practice. I'm a big golfer as well, but I gave up hoops. I still shoot a little bit, but the thing I love about golf and all about music, you'll never master it. You may think you've mastered it, but you haven't. And so you're always striving, and that gives us something to do every day as an artist. And just the whole thing about what makes a songwriter. Like I say, I'm not a great, I'm an okay musician. Don't get me wrong, but studio musicians and classical musicians, they're a whole nother breed of animal. And I have such respect for these guys. I mean, as much as any doctor or anything else. So when I got around really good people, I just told myself, you have so much to learn, and you better get your ass in the woodshed and start flat picking, finger picking. And I did. And I've gotten pretty decent at it. But songwriting itself and what makes us write a song, I mean, the song that we're promoting right now is called Crack of Light. And I'll tell you a little bit about that song. So I have my Martin right here. So I had this riff for about 25 years. I loved it. Anytime I would play it for another guitar player, they go, "Man, where'd that come from? Where'd you get that?" I go, "I've just had it." So years ago, I tried to write a song about the LA riots with Rodney King because it had kind of a reflective quality to the sound, and it was such a mess here when that happened. That was the only subject matter I think that warranted this riff. But I never really wrote it, and time went on. And as years went by, and we get a little older and wiser and this and more crazy as well. I realized, especially with COVID and all the friends of mine personally that have gone down rabbit holes, isolation, brothers you don't talk to anymore, friends you don't talk to anymore, because everyone is so divided and kind of polarized. And I was not any different. I was hanging out too much by myself, thinking too much by myself. And, you say when you're alone with your thoughts, sometimes you're in a bad neighborhood. So that's what Crack a Light is really about. And so that's an example of a song that has a span of 25 years. I have a new song that I just wrote called Broken, which is kind of a comic assessment of, the world today. And sometimes I feel broken. I wrote that in literally 2 days. And I don't know where it came from and this and that. So I subscribe to all kinds of theories about songwriting that, it's kind of like a lover. You have to give it some room, room to breathe, stay away from it, go close to it, come back, go away. And I do believe, as far as lyric writing, also, I mean, that's a great thing to do, just as a hobby and also as a songwriter, as an artist, because, you have a set of lyrics and an idea that you put down, and you look at it, you walk away, and then you come back 2 days later and said, I'm going to change this "than" to a "the," just one word. And that's how it happens. And it's like a sculpture, you have that big rock and they start carving away at the.
Looks like we lost Robbie. Hopefully he'll come back on. Uh, Robbie's in Los Angeles, everybody who's watching this transmission.
Hit record or
Yeah,
anything else. I needed my own medicine. But the thing is, with really good songwriters, when they do that for themselves, they'll find out in the world, hey, you know what? There's someone else that might have the same kind of vibration going on with them, where where your song hits a chord. And hopefully, with hit promo, we get the word out to a lot more people, and we'll see what happens.
well, I tell every one of the folks I advocate for, you do not get a second chance to make a first impression. And you spoke earlier, Robbie, about the division and Wayward Wind, your most recent single prior to Crack of Light, speaks directly to that topic.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Wayward Wind is another song again that I started writing. To be honest, I started writing it about 2017. It was before President Trump took his first term in office, but even before he got elected, I just felt like something was amiss in the air, and about America, and I just didn't feel right, and I kind of felt like something wasn't authentic, for lack of a better term, with our leadership. And that song, again, I had it and I had showed Herb Peterson it. And he said, well, there's already a song called The Wayward Wind, which was made in like the 50s or 60s by a singer named Gogi Grant and a famed Broadway composer. Uh, but for some reason, I just kind of hedged on writing it. And then again, a few months ago, I said, "Man, you gotta write the lyrics for this song. You have the lyrics now. You know what you want to say." And again, I tried to be very tacit, not mention any names. But the cycle of lyrics in Wayward Wind go from this guy just saying there's a gray hole in the sky, and the next verse he talks about buildings are falling down and the Iceman's coming to town, and the third couplet deals with the environment and what's happening to the environment. Geese are flying sideways in this wayward wind, and the fourth verse deals with the greed. The verse literally says the kings have been corrupted. Satellite pirates in the sky got you looking at chemtrails while they steal your vote at night. They say there's money to be found at the bottom of the well, but I ain't going down there. It's getting too close to hell. And so that's really how I felt in here. And, just worldwide, there's a lot of people that have made money off being compassionless or rude or crude. And there's another section of the world and the population that wants to be compassionate and help people. And I just felt that in America, really, it's just getting a little too brittle here. And we,
Mhm.
we got to kind of get our moorings straight. So, of course, I didn't want to lecture. It's a protest song, in all accounts. And It's my only one, but it had to be said, and I'm very proud of the work we did. That Boo Bernstein does a pedal steel in the beginning of that, and he does this insane riff that's incredible and kind of the template for the song.
Why would someone in the center of the universe, the most exciting city in the world, you have everything, move to the city of angels, other than you were pursuing greatness on stage, on screen? It's as difficult as the music industry, Robbie.
They
It's a
are. They're both
challenging industry.
very unforgiving. I mean, I just had an audition for a spinoff of a pilot last week. I thought I did great. I had a friend who's a great actor who had a great audition for a recurring role on a series, and I saw what he did. I thought it was wonderful. We both didn't get the part. So, as a creative, I've been lucky enough to have a business. My wife is Thai, and we started a Thai massage business in Studio City about 11 years ago. Bangkok Spa Massage, Ventura Boulevard. It's really great. But because of that, I've been able to, keep the wolf away from the door. But my motto as an artist has always been stay creative, whether you're getting paid or not. Because for me, I had other jobs where I was making money, but I didn't feel that great. It wasn't soul fulfilling. And as a singer songwriter and as an actor and as a creative, I just cannot deny that part of myself. So I always stay engaged with my music, with my acting in one form or another, because it's really medicine for me. And I think there's a million people out there who are in the creative field, and there's a million people out there also kind of encouraging others to be creative, especially now. Especially now. The arts and creativity, they're here and they have been around for zillions of years for a reason because they help us.
Very true. Never have more wiser words been said. How does the Los Angeles experience play into your songcraft if you're in Des Moines, Iowa, or Jackson, Mississippi, or Troy, Ohio, or Rumford, Maine? You don't
Well,
have access to all of these incredible people that you get to work
well,
with.
that's 1000% true. I mean, the list of musicians that I've been lucky to meet through, original, like I said, through my friend Pete DeCosta and then Herb Peterson, they're the best in the business. I just recorded, had John Jorgensen, who's a renowned guitarist, one of the best in the country, plays with Elton, and he played with the Desert Rose Band for years and years, but he even has a gypsy band. He's phenomenal. But he played on two of my records recently that haven't been released yet. But to work with these guys, J.D. Manis, for example, he played pedal steel. He was with Buck Owens and the Buckaroos. I mean, you don't get a higher caliber pedigree than this. So again, to be around all these musicians as a songwriter, the great thing is surround yourself with great people. Make sure they're all better than you. You know, and the result is that the thing I little feather in my cap is, you know what? I think these guys actually like my music.
Mhm.
I think they actually like playing with my music. So the result is when you go into a session and you set everything up correctly, when these guys come in, they're painters, they're artists, and to see the collaborative stuff that happens when one guy comes in and then the next guy comes in, and then you go, wow, I didn't think of this on my own. Something else kind of gestated from this alchemy of having these musicians together. So I mean, I love and respect musicians, especially schooled musicians or anyone who works hard at their craft so much. I mean, I can also sing lounge music. I have a good voice for that. If I could play my dream would to do a concert with, a 40-piece orchestra. I could pull it off. But, as you know, more than anyone, the music business has changed and the money where it used to be in many places is just not there anymore. So what do we do, as creative people? I think that's the next question. So I'm making a kind of strong step, working with you and getting the word out to people I don't know about who I am. But again, stay creative whether you're getting paid or not. I feel right now I have so many good songs that are already in the can that I haven't released, and so many more that have already recorded, that I have a really, really good body of work that I'm really proud of. And again, I listen to by myself. I practiced with 8 songs last night. It's just me and my guitar. But, after, listening to 8 I said, "These are all really good songs," and believe me, I'm the most harsh critic of my own work. So, for me to say that is really saying something.
Many people, when asked what their best song is, Robbie, they will uh, reply by saying, "Well, the best song is the song I haven't written yet." And you do, as do I, have more sand in the bottom of the hourglass now
Right.
than there is in the top. What is your motivation? You could be playing golf 4 times a week. You could be
Yeah.
living in a fabulous retirement community. You could join
Never
a
do that.
bowling league.
I'd kill myself before I join a building and live in the return. Now, what motivates me? Again, it's just I think the creative process in general is something that you don't want to mess with too much. In other words, there are people that are incredibly driven, and they put their nose to the grindstone 8 hours a day, and they produce something, but sometimes it's doesn't really get you below the neck. They worked hard. My big thing about theater, about music, about anything like that is, some plays or some pieces of music you'll remember because of whatever reason. But my big question is, what affected you from the neck down 2 days later about that song or that play or that film that you still remember? And if we accomplish that with the viewer, we've done our job, because I
Mhm.
want to affect someone here with what I do. My stuff's pretty honest. I have some songs where I play more of a character in the song, and so it won't be that deep or heavy or full of gravitas. It'll be more fun, but I try to keep those as parameters as a songwriter. And I don't, I've never phrased. I haven't written my best song. I wouldn't do that to myself. I think that songs have so many ways of coming out of the ether of the atmosphere of your life that I don't want to put a lid on anything, because I don't know where it's going to come from. Something wonderful is going to happen. I just don't know what it is, and that's the good news, pretty much.
If we listen to music to feel a way, we'd rather be feeling. I listen to Crack of Light. I feel less alone. I guess as a gifted storyteller, you're telling a story here that many of us have felt. Can you talk about Crack of Light and
Sure,
how this
absolutely.
story came to be?
Yeah. So again, we have the backstory. I was going to write about the LA riots, but then I just started realizing that myself, I needed to crack a light. I was too dark. I was too too isolated. And so, interestingly enough, so as a little sidebar, so I submitted Crack Light to one guy at one of those, Submit Hubs or Groover. I don't know which one it was, but the guy's comment was, "Oh, these lyrics are disjointed and they don't make any sense from one couplet to the next. I have no idea what the song's about." So I said, "This guy's an idiot," uh, because I'll tell you about Crack Light. So Crack Light was co-written lyrically by with Bill Bentley, who's a famed, writer and promoter for years and years. And he lives in my neighborhood, and we met. That's another long story. But the first lyric, just to give you an idea, is got my eyes in the mirror, got my head in the sand, got the Mark IV out on Sunday, and the road at my command. I was a blues boy on that bandstand. Heard the bebop on the radio too. Those are Bill's lines. Uh, Outside, it's cold and rainy, and inside, I'm feeling blue, and it don't feel right. That's the first verse. So, it's this waking up, saying, my life's okay, but something doesn't feel right, right? So the next verse is I have a verse that goes, there's a blue sky in Kansas. I've never even been to Kansas. The kids are running home from school. My friends all ask me how I'm doing, and I say, yeah, I'm cool. But there's a hole in my heart, and it's eaten me up inside. It's got me locked in the basement with bad ideas and foolish pride, and it don't seem right. Lord, please show me a little crack of light. And the last verse deals with, you know, you can find a millionaire guy in a Rolls Royce, and he's sad as anyone. And you can find a homeless person on the street singing, and they're much happier than he is. So that last verse reflects that. I go, I see the lonely rich man. I see the homeless singing in the street. And I say to myself, it's all how you look at things, and it's the people you meet. So next time that boogeyman comes around, don't pay that darkness any mind. I will pull back the curtain and let that sunlight back inside. Yeah, we're going to make this right. We only need a little crack of light. So again, that last couplet is basically saying we can't do this alone. I mean, some of us can pull ourselves out of holes and some of us do. Some of us do not, unfortunately. But with the help of someone else pulling back that curtain, giving you a little encouragement, just a nudge. You know, I'll just tell a quick story, not to bring attention to myself, but there's a woman behind my apartment building, a Mexican woman. She's probably about 60. She pulls trash cans out of the dumpster every day. And I've seen her on and off for weeks. She's got the biggest smile on her face. She's neat and clean. She's meticulous. I give her a couple of bucks here and then. But that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. This woman is more at peace with herself, and you can see it immediately, than, somebody driving a Range Rover cutting people off on the 101. So that's really what Crack a Light's about, is trying to get, that light so we can get that peace. So then we can have basically the countenance, for instance, of this lady who I find pulling trash. And she actually came to my door the other day and told me my car lights were on. I didn't know how she knew my car, but just things like that. So that's really what Crack a Light's about. And my theory about American civilization, about society at large, is because of COVID, because of computers. We all sit around a computer like people did 200 years ago for the warmth of fire. So we have a lot of isolation in our populace that we did not have before, and most of it has been created by the internet, by things to help us communicate better. But people don't interact physically one on one with people as much as they did. So that's what Crack a Like's about, and for some people, it's a life and death fight. I mean, I just saw a woman the other day who she lost her husband of 50 years. They had an incredibly loving relationship. He's been gone 2 years, and she's been hanging on by a thread for about 2 years. So that's just another example of, like, we never know what cross anyone's carrying in our neighborhood, whether it's the billionaire or the homeless person. But if we can do one or two nice things a day, that's kind of the message, tacit message. I don't come out and say it, of Crack and Light, but that's the tacit message of Crack a Light.
Robbie, the past is history, the future is mystery. All we have is the present. And I want to give everybody viewing this Hip Spotlight a gift. Robbie's going to give you the places to go. And the gift is to go watch Wayward Wind. That is Robbie Mangiardi. That is Mangiardi. And also go watch Crack of Light. Excellent songcraft. And I can say this in all confidence, there are going to be more songs coming from Robbie. And I encourage you to do a deep dive. Check out all the great things he's got cooking. And Robbie is one of these guys who eschews the online platforms. I've suggested he, being a guy that has a lot of wisdom, he every Wednesday comes on and he shares some wisdom, his Wisdom Wednesdays, which are terrific. For me, the Flashback Fridays are fantastic. I sometimes wish, Robbie, I had been born in the same decade as you because my teenage years were in the 70s. And of course, lots of people will say, well, you got to see ELO in their prime, and you got to see Queen in their prime, or Yes at the JFK Stadium in
Mhm.
1976. But good for you, man. You're not saying I don't like all this online stuff. You're embracing it. So I applaud you. Let everyone know where they can find you.
Well, my website is simply robbiemangiardimusic.com. Mangiardi is an Italian name, in case you're wondering. I'm Irish, Scottish, and Italian. I didn't want to change my name to Billy Bob, whatever, to be a country western. I just wouldn't do it. I couldn't stomach doing that. But yeah, so RobbieMangiardi.com is a great place to start. YouTube is another great place. SoundCloud is another great place. Amazon Music. I'm all over the place right now, and I have a lot of music out there. That's before I started working here with Andy, and very proud of all of it.
Well, we really do appreciate everyone checking in with us today for the most recent installment of the Hip Spotlight YouTube live stream. And Robbie, I want to thank you. We are grateful you took some time out this weekday afternoon to speak with us. And everybody, very easy. You just go to YouTube. There are no other Robbie Mangiardis that you could
None.
potentially mistake this musical creative for. And you want to check out his work. I think you'll be feeling better once you have. And Robbie, we're going to do everything here in New Jersey to make sure that this transmission gets the right kind of marketing push to get it out to people all over this world torn asunder.
Great. Thank you, Andy.
You're welcome, Robbie. Enjoy the rest of your day. And
And
thanks
everyone
again for
listening,
being,
thank you guys for
thanks.
listening. I know Andy has a built in audience there, and I've watched a lot of the other musicians who've been on there. I've been fascinated by all of it. And listen, we're in a brave new world with the music business and how to get paid and eat. Luck, like I said, isn't my problem, but I would like to make money too. And hopefully, we'll figure this out together and keep fighting the good fight, as Andy says.
Sounds good, Robbie. Take care. Many
Thank you so
thanks.
much. Have a
You're
great day,
welcome.
everybody.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
bye.